You shared years with them, memories, conversations, moments that felt deeply real. And then one day, they act like none of it ever happened. No acknowledgement, no reflection, no emotion, almost like you were erased. And if you've experienced that, one question usually follows. How can someone act like you never existed? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand something most people never explain about narcissistic relationships, why they detach so suddenly, why they erase the past, and what's actually happening inside their psychology when they pretend you meant nothing. And the answer may change how you see the entire relationship, because what looks like indifference is actually something very different. Let's start with something important. Narcissists don't experience relationships the way emotionally healthy people do. For most people, relationships are built through connection, shared experience, emotional investment. Memories strengthen attachment. Time deepens meaning. But for someone with strong narcissistic patterns, relationships serve a different function. They regulate identity, they regulate ego, they regulate validation. Psychologists sometimes call this narcissistic supply. Attention, admiration, emotional reaction, validation. These become psychological fuel. And once you understand that, something about their behavior starts to make sense. Because the relationship wasn't built primarily around connection. It was built around supply. Now here's the part that confuses most survivors. During their relationship, they can appear intensely connected, attentive, affectionate, even emotionally dependent. But much of that intensity comes from something very specific: the novelty of validation, new admiration, new attention, new emotional engagement. When the relationship is new, that validation feels powerful, exciting, stimulating. But over time, something shifts. Admiration becomes predictable. Attention becomes normal. And predictable validation stops producing the same psychological reward. For someone constantly seeking ego reinforcement, predictability can feel like emotional stagnation. And that's when the dynamic begins to change. Subtle distance, more criticism, less empathy, less curiosity about your feelings. Not because you suddenly became less valuable, but because the psychological function of the relationship changed. And this leads to something extremely important. Narcissists don't attach to people the way most individuals do. They attach to roles. The admirer, the supporter, the validator, the emotional stabilizer. As long as the role is being fulfilled, the relationship feels useful. But once that role shifts, their emotional investment often shifts with it. This is why many survivors feel something incredibly painful after the relationship ends. They feel replaced, not just left, replaced. And that experience can feel deeply personal, like someone erased your importance. But what actually happened is something much more mechanical. The role was replaced, not the person. One of the hardest parts of this experience is accepting that you may never receive the acknowledgement you hoped for. No conversation that explains everything, no apology that makes the pain make sense, no moment where they suddenly recognize what you went through. For many survivors, that absence of closure feels like the final wound. Because humans naturally want resolution. We want stories to end in a way that helps us understand them. But narcissistic relationships rarely end that way. They often end abruptly, confusingly, and without emotional accountability. But something powerful begins to happen when you shift where you look for closure. Instead of waiting for recognition from the person who hurt you, you begin recognizing the truth yourself. You start connecting the patterns, the manipulation, the emotional highs and lows, and slowly the story becomes clearer. Not because they explained it, but because you finally see it for what it was. And that clarity is often the moment when the emotional hold of the relationship begins to loosen. Not dramatically, but quietly. And sometimes that quiet shift is the first real step toward freedom. But there is another layer to this that many survivors only understand years later. When a narcissist acts like you never existed, it doesn't mean the relationship didn't impact them. It means they are trying to control the narrative of their identity. For narcissists, identity isn't stable. It isn't rooted in values, empathy, or emotional connection. It is built almost entirely on external validation. They need admiration. They need attention. They need someone reflecting back an image of who they want to believe they are. And when that reflection changes, when you start seeing the manipulation, when you start asking questions, when you stop playing the role they assigned to you, something dangerous happens in their mind. You stop being useful to their self-image. And once that happens, they don't just distance themselves. They attempt something far more drastic. They psychologically erase the version of reality where you existed, because acknowledging the relationship would force them to face things they cannot tolerate. It would force them to confront the lies, the manipulation, the emotional damage, and most importantly, their own fragile sense of self. So instead, they rewrite the story. In their version of reality, the relationship was never serious. You were never important. Nothing meaningful happened. And this rewritten narrative allows them to move forward without accountability. But here's the painful irony. While they are busy rewriting the past, you are left carrying the emotional weight of what really happened. You remember the conversations, the promises, the moments that felt real, the nights you stayed awake trying to fix things, and the contrast between your memory and their indifference can feel devastating. It can make you question your own reality. You may even start wondering, did any of it matter to them? The answer is complicated because narcissists are capable of attachment, but their attachment is not the same as healthy love. It is based on function, not connection. You mattered while you were fulfilling a role. You mattered while you were providing admiration, attention, emotional labor, or stability. But once that role stopped serving their needs, they began preparing the psychological exit. And that is why their emotional detachment can seem so sudden. While you were still trying to repair the relationship, they were already rehearsing the story where the relationship never existed. Understanding this doesn't erase the pain, but it does something incredibly important. It removes the illusion that their indifference defines your worth, because their ability to erase people is not a reflection of how valuable those people were. It is a reflection of how fragile the narcissist's inner world truly is. Now let's talk about the moment that feels the most shocking to many survivors, the emotional switch. When the narcissist suddenly behaves as if you meant nothing. They avoid conversations about the past. They show no curiosity about your pain. They move forward almost immediately. And sometimes, they appear happier than ever. That moment can feel devastating because it makes you question the reality of everything that happened between you. Were the feelings real? Did the relationship mean anything to them? But here's a perspective that can change how you see that moment. For many narcissistic personalities, acknowledging the emotional impact of a relationship ending would require something extremely uncomfortable: self-reflection, responsibility, empathy, and those experiences threaten the psychological defenses that protect their identity. So instead, the mind chooses a simpler path: emotional erasure, not remembering, not acknowledging, not engaging. Because if the relationship is minimized, the emotional consequences are minimized too. And that psychological shortcut allows it to move forward without confronting what happened. There's also another layer to this, one that affects the people left behind. When narcissists detach suddenly, it leaves survivors without closure, no real conversation, no meaningful explanation, no emotional resolution. And the human brain doesn't like unfinished stories. It wants explanation, understanding, completion. So the mind keeps returning to the relationship, replaying memories, reconstructing conversations, trying to understand what happened, not because you're weak, but because your brain is trying to finish a story that was abruptly interrupted. Now here's something powerful. Closure does not come from their explanation. It comes from your understanding the pattern, understanding the psychology, understanding that their emotional detachment wasn't a reflection of your worth. It was a reflection of their limitations. And when that understanding begins to settle in, something interesting happens. The emotional weight starts to shift. The relationship stops feeling like a mystery and starts looking more like a pattern. And patterns can be recognized, learned from, and eventually released. Because the truth is this: people who can erase others emotionally were never capable of holding the kind of connection you deserved. Real connection leaves traces, memories, growth, acknowledgement. It doesn't disappear overnight. So if someone acted like you never existed, it doesn't mean the relationship meant nothing. It means they lacked the emotional capacity to carry its meaning forward. And understanding that is one of the first steps toward real freedom. If this helped you understand what happened in your relationship, subscribe. This channel isn't just about recognizing narcissistic behavior. It's about understanding what those experiences do to your nervous system, your mind, and your body. Comment below if you've ever felt like someone erased you after a relationship ended. You're not alone in that experience. And when we understand these patterns, they stop having the same power over us. You survive the relationship. Here, we help you survive it too.